Have you ever read something, learned new information for the first time, and your response was, how did I not know that before? That was my first response when I read 7Q5, the New Testament and the Dead Sea Scrolls by Giuseppe Guarino. When I was reading through this book, my response the entire time was, how did I not know this information? This stuff was so great. How did it not make it into my brain, solidify there in my memory, and get stuck there? Well, thanks to Giuseppe, the information in this book is now stuck in my brain. And just like Smash Mouth and the year that I graduated from high school in 2001, I'm going to say I'm a believer. You sold me, Giuseppe. I am full on board with what you say about Manuscript 7Q5. 7Q5 is a book describing the fifth manuscript of the seventh cave of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And before you shut this video off and say, boring, who cares about cave number 7 of the Dead Sea Scrolls? I'm going to say you should care. If you are concerned at all with the reliability and the dating of your New Testament, you should have great concern about cave number 7 and the fifth manuscript therein. What Giuseppe writes about in his book is just so cool. When it comes to the Dead Sea Scrolls, there is one overwhelming trait that almost all of the manuscripts that are contained in the Dead Sea Scrolls share, and that trait is one language. 80% of the manuscripts are Hebrew, and almost all of the rest are written in Aramaic, which is basically just kind of a cousin language to Hebrew, most likely spoken by the Jews during the time of Jesus Christ. And that's what I knew going into my reading of 7Q5. I had read a couple of books about the Dead Sea Scrolls. I even read one book that was just an English translation of all of the community rules of the Essenes that were found in the midst of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I've seen some of the Dead Sea Scrolls in person. I went to Jerusalem and went to the Shrine of the Book. I even got this nice little souvenir that I was there, a replica of the jars of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And in the midst of it is a mini little replica of the great Isaiah scroll. So I knew a decent amount about the Dead Sea Scrolls going into this, but I didn't know anything about cave number 7. The significance of cave number 7 is that the manuscripts contained in cave number 7 are all written in Greek. And not only are they written in Greek, but there's a distinct possibility that some of those manuscripts are parts of the New Testament. And there is a distinct possibility that manuscript number 5, which is little, it's only 3.9 centimeters tall and 2.7 centimeters wide. It's tiny. I went and printed what I think is an accurate sized copy of it to show how tiny of a manuscript this is. But this little manuscript, which contains 20 letters, this could very well be all that is left of an ancient and what would be the oldest copy of the Gospel of Mark in existence. You see, there is a strong possibility that the letters that are on this manuscript are from Mark chapter 6, verses 52 and 53. Now, in Giuseppe's book, he leans on several professors who are going to go against the view of the majority of scholars who say, we don't know what writing is found on this manuscript. But there are a select few who believe that the writing on this manuscript is from Mark chapter 6. And Giuseppe presents the arguments of that minority collection of scholars to show that we should date the Gospel of Mark based on this manuscript to the year AD 50. So this would be the oldest copy we have of the New Testament. Now, I found Giuseppe's little book, it's not very long, on a little manuscript to be a fascinating read. Especially the first 5 chapters of the book were great, along with the first appendix that was written by Dr. Wilbur Pickering. I found that to be especially strong. There were some moments in the book where I was like, Giuseppe, why aren't you talking about this or about that? And I realized Giuseppe didn't talk about that because it's found in the appendix at the end of the book. So you have to read that final appendix by Dr. Wilbur Pickering to really see the full breadth of the arguments that Giuseppe presents in this book. And what he's done is he has done the work for us of taking what would be hours and hours of labor to learn all of the information that we could about this little manuscript, and he's taken it and put it in a small, compact book that really any Christian could read and digest and understand. And he presents a very strong argument that the fifth manuscript in the seventh cave of the Dead Sea Scrolls is the New Testament. This is tangible evidence that we can date the Gospel of Mark earlier than liberal scholars would ever want to admit. I also found the visuals in this book to be very helpful for a book that was written on an ancient New Testament manuscript. There are times when you would really like to see a picture of that New Testament manuscript so that you can know what Giuseppe's talking about. And he provided the visuals that would be helpful for the reader to understand what he's describing throughout the book. I also commend Giuseppe for bringing to light the objections against labeling this manuscript as Mark chapter 6. Giuseppe deals with the textual issues regarding the manuscript itself, also provides an entire chapter where he confronts a variant reading that would be present if we had the entirety of the manuscript of 7Q5. And he does a great job presenting their arguments and showing why that doesn't dismantle the view of seeing this as Mark's gospel. So I want to say, if you are concerned with the dating of the New Testament, if you're concerned from attacks inside the church of progressives who want to discount the Gospels as a historical record, if you want to confront the attacks of atheists from outside of the church who just say these are all just fairy tales that were written dozens and dozens of years after Christ's life, you should read this book. To me, the most convincing evidence in favor of labeling this small manuscript as a copy of Mark's gospel is the fact that we have 4 different lines of text in this little manuscript. I know it's hard to see here, but we got 4 different rows included in this little manuscript. And the chances that you could have 4 rows of text match Mark chapter 6 and another different document are astronomically small. If a manuscript can fit with one written work, the chances of it fitting with another written work are so small that it's almost as unlikely as life springing into existence by chance. It's not gonna happen. So I really enjoyed Giuseppe's work. And after reading it, all I can't keep thinking is I can't believe I didn't know about cave number 7 among the Dead Sea Scrolls before. And I thank you, Giuseppe, for filling me in on this information. And if you don't know anything about this cave and about these manuscripts, you need to read this book as well. And if you, like me, are going to follow up reading this book by going online and reading other articles about 7Q5, I want to remind you that one of the reasons that they're going to so quickly dismiss this manuscript as being part of Mark's gospel is that they have a firm belief of a dating of the Gospel of Mark. And if this manuscript really is Mark's gospel, it throws those dates out as falsehoods. It allows us to have a far earlier dating of Mark's gospel, much closer to the life of Jesus Christ. It would ruin a lot of their previous theories, so the chances of them saying this is an authentic gospel from Mark are going to be really small. If there's any chance for them to deny that this is Mark, they will take it. But I want to really encourage you to read Giuseppe's book. I am so glad that I did. And if you enjoyed this review and you want to stay engaged in the insightful and at times rather surprising world of Christian literature, I'd encourage you to subscribe to the Rev Reads YouTube channel.